Let me unmute myself. Sorry about that. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for attending this session of the Continuing Education Portal User Session for accredited sponsors. My name is Michelle Hagberg. I'm a Continuing Education Coordinator here at the Post Board. I've been at Post for about 7.5 years and in my current role for about 3. We have a detailed presentation planned for you today that we'll be recording and uploading to our website in a near future date so that you can use it as a reference moving forward. We will also be asking, or we'll be taking questions at the end of each section. So if you could please remain on mute until we're at the end of each section, we'll ask for questions at that time. If you could please raise your hand, we'll call on you and answer any questions you may have. And if needed, we'll certainly have a quick question and answer session at the very end for any housekeeping duties. And with that, I will let my coworkers introduce themselves.
Good morning, I'm Andy Berth. I'm also a continuing education coordinator here at the Post Board. I've been in position for about 4 years now. I started as a standards coordinator and then moved over to CE after 6 months. And looking forward to at least this soft launch, starting out with the accredited sponsors and seeing how this goes. So we're welcome to any feedback once you're able to get in and start working on approving courses. So, Sarah, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sarah Zastro. I have been at Post for about 3 years and a continuing education coordinator for about a year now. Just looking forward to getting this live and getting you guys all in the portal.
All right, well, with that, I'm going to take the first part here of the introduction and going over a few of the nuances of the portal dashboard, access, and so forth. And then I'll turn it over to Sarah, who will walk you through actually approving, applying, filling out the application, and then approving a course. So with that, I'm going to share my screen. So this should look pretty similar to the user guide. As we went through, we did notice a few errors, some numbering errors or some photos that or screenshots that were incorrect. So if any of your comments or if you have anything, certainly let us know. But this is the guide. I'm not going to read verbatim. Hopefully you've had a chance to go through this. But we're going to walk through a few of the things, and then, like Michelle noted, we'll take any questions after each section. We introduced ourselves. The continuing education team is comprised of myself, Michelle, Sarah, but also Jesse Knowles is our new continuing education credit coordinator. So the continuing education portal is designed to streamline, hopefully streamline the current process that we have of submitting via email with several documents attached. In this way, it's all in one application, and we can communicate back and forth within the portal. As sponsors, you're going to be able to submit applications. You'll be able to view the submission status. So if it's pending, if it's been returned. Via the chatter feature, you'll be able to communicate with Post on submissions. So we'll be able to post any feedback if we return a course, and you'll be able to reply if you have any questions. And we'll also via email or phone as well. You'll also be able to view an index of approved courses and conferences. So everything that was previously approved for you has been transferred over, migrated to this database. So all of those will be there in addition to anything that you approve moving forward. You'll also be able to submit affidavits of attendance, either manually or by bulk upload. And then for law enforcement agencies, the annual training reimbursement, that will also be an option as well. To access the portal, it's all controlled via Minnesota e-licensing is the gateway to access, which you all should be familiar with as accredited sponsors. From there, and we'll walk through, you'll be able to access then the portal. Within the portal, you'll be able to, if you're the primary contact, which is the licensee, there's only one that can be on file with Post. If you're that primary contact, you can then assign delegated users to go in, acting on your behalf, to perform course applications, affidavit submissions, etc. They will again log in through Minnesota e-licensing, so as it's diagrammed there on the top. At the bottom here, this is just explaining how if you are the primary contact, or if you're a delegate for two different agencies, you'll need to have on the bottom here, you'll see that you need to have two different logins via e-licensing in order to access those. You won't be able to go back and forth. Now, if they use the same email address, you can access them both via e-licensing, and they'll be on the dashboard. Otherwise, you'll have to have two separate accounts in e-licensing. And I'll pause there because that can be kind of confusing, and I tend to explain it confusingly, but does anyone have any questions? Okay. So moving on, just an overview of the application process. And this is taken from the general user guide, but the course content and instructor qualifications, you can basically remove these from your steps, and it'll just be filling out the application, completing categories, credits, reviewing, and submitting, which Sarah will walk you through shortly. Important points to go over. Post is unable to provide credits for any partial attendance of courses and conferences. So if the course is approved for 4 hours, the attendee needs to be there for the entire 4 hours. It applies to courses covering general CE topics, mandatory learning objectives, or any combination. If someone is unable to attend all those hours of a course, Post is going to look to the participant or the participant's agency to contact the sponsor to work with you to coordinate a resolution for the hours not attended. So either coming in at a different time that the course is held, and finding a way to make up the time that they weren't able to attend. For multi-day courses and conferences, because we recognize that some people might not be able to attend a conference for the last day, or might not be able to attend for the first day. There's the option to again submit an application for each day of the course, because we want people to be able to get the credits, and if just because they can't go to a full 3-day conference, this is a good way to submit day 1, day 2, day 3. And that's why you're writing, or on that third line, please title each of your course conference submissions accordingly. It's a lot easier to track on your end and on our end if you call with questions. So I can refer to the Chiefs Conference day 1, Chiefs Conference day 2. It makes it a whole lot easier. Number 2 here, courses submitted for approval. This has been within rule, but need to be law enforcement related based on the knowledge, skills, and abilities needed to be a peace officer and meet a law enforcement educational need. So tactical flower arrangement is not going to be something that should be approved. It needs to be pretty much everything that you've been approving so far. Courses and conferences must be submitted at least 10 days before the commencement of the course conference. Days are defined as business days and exclude weekends and holidays. Now, as accredited sponsors, you're not submitting them to us, you're approving them yourselves. As long as you do it day of or before, it will be approved. You're not going to be able to go in, again, same rules hold, that it can't be retroactively approved. So if you've held the course, you can't go in and then create it the next day, backdate it. It's not going to allow you to do that. This will come into play for you, as you know, for mandatory learning objective courses when we open that portion of the portal up. That 10-day rule is still going to apply. We're trying to, or we've gotten away from the reapproval process. Some people still submit reapprovals. We don't do reapprovals, which was a general, I'm not really going to submit anything. Here's just the application. We don't know what was approved 3 years ago. It might not have been us. We didn't see the course content, so we're not able to approve those without seeing that. So they're going to need to be submitted as brand new courses. And whether or not it was approved really isn't going to have any bearing. We still need to just evaluate it on what you've submitted at the time. I'll pause there for any questions on any of these important points or the design.
Tina, go ahead.
Yeah, sorry guys, I have a little bit of a cold, so I sound like I'm a barking dog right now, but my question is about the conferences and multiple days and giving credit for those. So we've done that a little bit differently, I think, in the past. And, we have many classes that do have multiple days, but they're not a conference. So do I hear you correctly that if we have, say, a 3-day class and somebody misses one day, they're not going to get credit for day 1 or day 2 if they don't complete all 3 days?
If you've submitted that as one application,
Got it. Yep.
that's encompassing all 3 days,
Right.
correct. They won't be
Okay.
able, because we can't parcel out partial credit. So they would have to then, let's say they got pulled away for something, they're at their agency. They would have to find a way to work with your agency to attend day 2 and 3 in the future.
Okay, perfect.
Otherwise, the option is you could apply for it as a day 1,
Yeah.
receive a course number, day 2, receive a course number, day 3, receive a course number.
Okay, and that was my next question then. So when you do this for conferences, and we've always just done it as one as a whole. So our conferences are, say that it's a half day, full day, half day. We just have one post number assigned to those days. So what I think I hear you saying is that we would have the option to break that into 3 post numbers and then give credit for day 1, day 2, and day 3 if they've attended any of those full days.
Correct.
Okay. Yeah, we've never done that before, so that's
Now, Tina, I just want to
yeah.
mention that that's for courses moving forward.
Yeah,
If you
yeah.
have, okay, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
you can't go back and change it for previously approved courses for content.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep, we got that. Okay, great. Thank you guys.
Hi, this is Matthew. As a follow-up to Tina's question, will each day have its own unique course number? Okay, so it wouldn't
Yes.
be one course number for all of it to where we could just do, okay, so cool. Just wanted to make sure I caught that as well. So thank you.
Just for the conferences, Matt.
Nope, just for courses and conferences. So
Oh, if we wanted to break it that way.
Yep. So
Yeah.
any course or any conference, really the only difference between course and conference is that a course is approved for
1 year and 2, 3.
a course is approved for 3 years, a conference is approved for 1 year.
Yep.
Conferences, we recognize are kind of, some people can only go for 1 day or 2 day, but the same thing with courses, though most people, if I'm attending a 3-day investigations course at the BCA, my agency is going to expect that I go and is going to make arrangements for you to go for all 3 days. But
Absolutely. Yep.
things happen, and sometimes that officer needs to get pulled away back to his or her agency. In which case they would need to work with you to make up the missing hours.
Perfect. And that's exactly what we've done before. So that's, I think we're on the same track.
Correct.
Kathy, did you have a question or did that answer it for you?
That answered it. Thank you.
Okay. So the course conference application overview, the types of application, the The ones that you're going to right now be working on are the general continuing ed. Again, there's a reiteration there of what needs to be, the requirements of what they need to be. Some examples, and you know, these patrol operations, leadership, human trafficking, domestic violence. And like I said, you use common sense, and we trust you to use common sense, or you wouldn't be credit sponsors. So no tactical flower arrangement or pumping gas in a squad car. It needs to be something that is the type of training that law enforcement officers need, and not just basic knowledge. The mandatory learning objectives we'll get into, you should be familiar with those, but we have them listed. And then a combination of general continuing education and mandatory is on there only because there's just one certain part within the application process that makes it a combination, and is illustrated in the user guide, the larger user guide that you'll receive for mandatory learning objectives. It's laid out there. I'll pause. It looks like we have one question.
Indeed, yes. For the categories, do we just pick one, or are we able to pick multiple categories?
You can pick multiple. It'll be one at a time that you can select them. But you'll be able to pick multiple, and we'll walk you through that when we go through the course application.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. Any other questions? Okay. Prohibited content. The post board will not approve, nor should you approve any continuing education courses containing anything which is prohibited by statute. So warrior style training, training on certain restraints such as chokeholds, hog tying under two, or securing a person in any way that results in them being face down in a vehicle. These courses only be approved by course if the lesson plan clearly articulates that these restraints are only to be used if deadly force is authorized under state statute. And then the third one, recently coming out of the legislature, is excited delirium, training on the detection or use of the term excited delirium. So you can't have it in the title, you can't have it in the in any of the course content. You can't refer to that term at all. Any questions on prohibited content? So terminology, and in the larger user guide, we're going to have a key terms, but the word course, for the sake of brevity, for the remainder of the guide, the word course refers to both courses and conferences. Otherwise, typing out course/conference, it's too verbose. Just a reminder, a course is valid for 3 years from the date of approval. A conference is valid for 1 year from the date of approval. The words application and submission are used synonymously. The terms approval process, application process, and submission process are also used synonymously. General continuing education is abbreviated GCE. Mandatory learning objective is abbreviated as MLO. Really just so I could fit a lot of this stuff on either the titles or within some of these pages to just make them one page and make stuff fit. But also we refer to it as general CE, GCE, or MLO here. So that's the terminology. The application process, the first step is identical for general and mandatory courses. It differs once you get to within the application process at the second step where you are selecting categories. That's because MLO categories have associated learning objectives, which have associated performance objectives, which may also have associated sub-performance objectives that you have to select. General CE courses don't have any established learning requirements. So that's where they diverge and take different tracks. And we'll pass here on 3 since we're really only going over general CE unless anyone has any questions on this portion. Seeing none. So Minnesota e-licensing login and new user registration, this is where you'll start to see this different from the guide that you received. I made some updates and some reorganization in the past couple days. And we'll get a new one out to you shortly once we have this finalized. But the access is via Minnesota e-licensing. And what I'm going to do now is, instead of walking you through the guide, which you've already looked at, if you have it with you, you can certainly follow along. But I'm going to switch over to actually walk through the login, so you're not just listening to me read the guide to you. So let me switch. Okay, does everyone have the post homepage up? Michelle or Sarah, nod. Okay. So for new users, this is how they're going to access initially, is at the bottom of the page here under this fingerprint. I select your post account. Online services, either of these links will take you to the same page, so you can, whichever one you wish to choose. This is the site that you're likely familiar with, Minnesota e-licensing. If in this box here, you're going to enter your email address and your password if you already have an account. If you do not have an account, you'll walk through the registration. If anyone does not have an account, it's just simply a matter of clicking register here, creating the account, selecting the Peace Officer Standards and Training Board, selecting yourself as a continuing education sponsor, a general continuing education sponsor, non-LEA, and then signing up and being able to log in. So I'm going to log in here into my post test account 4. So right now you can see that I have actually several sponsor accounts. They're all under the same number or same email. So I'm able to access them. I also have a few applications, and these aren't course applications, but these are applications that become a sponsor, just going through testing. And what we're going to go to is actually accessing the portal. So I want to go to my test sponsor 4 account. There's a click box here, but there's nothing to do. We just hit go. And that's going to redirect us to the post continuing education portal site. Give me 1 second here, because let me back out, back to my license dashboard. You should already have your sponsor license and be able to log in. If you do not, or have not claimed your sponsor license, it's likely because you were not listed as the primary contact when we launched this. So we'll have to get that switched over, but to claim your sponsor license, it's simply a matter of selecting this option here. It'll claim your sponsor number. You'll enter your sponsor number. If you don't know that, it's the first 5 numbers of any course approval that was previously that you may have on hand. Otherwise, you could certainly contact post. So if I want to claim this, I want to take a look and see, is the name correct? Yes. If you've reworded it or whatnot, there's a place to change, or you'll have to contact post to have that changed. But as long as it's close and it's not somebody else's sponsor account, then you'd go ahead and select yes. And then an access code has gone to, I won't bore you with going to this Gmail, but you'll get an access code that you'll enter. and then you'll click next. And that will then claim the sponsor account and list you as the primary contact. Any questions on claiming sponsor license at all? Okay. So let's go back into the portal. So on the portal, there's 4 tabs. There will be 5. The one that's currently missing is affidavits of attendance. We are waiting until after this renewal cycle to open up affidavits of attendance to accredited sponsors or any sponsors really. We don't want any hiccups in the system in case something goes haywire with the portal or things aren't done correctly. We want to make sure that everyone who can renew and should renew is able to renew. So we're sticking with the old email process until after this renewal cycle, after June 30th. And then we'll open this up and it'll be couched right in the middle here. The course index is going to have any approved courses that you have. This is just my test account and none have been approved just because I've been working through them. Your course applications tab, this is where you're going to start a new course. It's also going to display the important points that we previously noted, and then provide some instructions on having everything ready before you complete the course. Now, for your intents and purposes as general or as accredited sponsors, this isn't going to be as important. You'll just need to know what your categories are. And then be able to move forward. But submitting any mandatory courses, having all of this ready ahead of time makes the process a whole lot easier. So if I wanted to start a new course, I would click next, but I'll leave that for Sarah. These are underneath here is a table, it's course applications. This just has the application is number and what your course name is, what the status is. So right now I have one pending that's been submitted to post, is waiting for approval. I have one in draft, a couple more in pending that I've just submitted just as tests. So anything that you have open, you'll be able to see this, as will any delegate. So the primary contact, anyone with access to the portal, is able to see all of this. We'll skip here and then we'll go back to sponsor info. This is just really outlining everything within rule, the requirements that sponsors are supposed to have, the classroom discrimination policy, course submission and approval, the credits, course delivery, and then credit reporting and documentation. So if you ever have any questions, all of this is pretty much verbatim from rule, or just spelled out a little more clearly for you. So now we'll go over to update or to up sponsor information. Most of these actions can only be performed by the primary contact. So any delegate is really just going to see the primary contact, this part here. They won't have access to managing the sponsorship. As the primary contact, though, you will be able to perform some tasks and some actions. The first one, if I click on action, update sponsor information, and I click next. At this stage, in the portal, the only thing available right now is to change the address. So if you've switched addresses and you want to update that, you can change the address and then click next to save it, and the address will be updated. The other action that you can take is managing your delegates. Again, under action, I'm going to select manage delegates. And what I like to do today, I'd like to add a new delegate. Let me make sure I'm not going to add somebody that isn't already in here. Let's go to add new delegate and click next. Now this person needs to be registered within e-licensing or the system isn't going to be able to find him or her. So if they're not registered, they'll need to do that first before you can add them. We'll go with the post test account 1@gmail.com. And if I haven't added them as a delegate, we should be good to go. So I'll enter that there. I'll click next. Again, in this stage of the portal, the default is that all delegates are able to manage courses, course applications, and affidavit submissions. So they're able to do everything within the portal that the primary contact or anyone with full permissions can do. Hopefully in future enhancements, we can go in and hopefully change this so that maybe someone can only do affidavit submissions and that's it, because that's all you want them to do. But currently this is the default and it can't be changed. If you select no, it's just going to keep looping back and until you finally hit yes. If you don't want to add that person with that, you've changed your mind, just go ahead and hit previous, back out of there, and skip that part. But we're going to add this person with those permissions. You receive the notification that a user has been added as a delegate, and we'll click finish. Now, if I want to, again, manage delegates, edit delegate permissions. There are no permissions to edit right now. So it's in there as a placeholder for future enhancements, but there's really nothing that can be performed currently under that action. To remove a delegate, simply select that. I select the delegate that I want to remove. And then I click next. Remove post user as a delegate. Yes. And then you receive confirmation that they've been removed as a delegate. That's not a permanent thing. They can be re-added if it was done accidentally, or they've agreed to stop screwing up the applications and you're going to give them a second try, but they can be re-added. Click finish there. And that ends my portion of this. The next portion that you will do is the course applications. So before we do that, though, I'll pause for any questions.
Matt, go ahead.
Thank you. If you accidentally did delete someone, is there a waiting period for the system to flush that email out so it doesn't tell you that a delegate already exists, because it gives you that warning when you create it that email already exists? So is there a wait period or is it pretty instantaneous?
It's pretty instantaneous. You can also just refresh your screen. And a lot of times that will do it or repopulate them. Same thing in course applications. When we get there, the course summary you'll have entered a bunch of stuff. You'll go over to the course summary and you'll be like, none of this is here. That's the one time where it's okay and it's safe to refresh your screen, just to get that in there. But I can certainly re-add that person right now.
Oh, no, thank you, but that's good. I just wanted to ask to see if there was, because sometimes there's a bit of a delay in the system flushing those out to where it's like, oh, you got to wait an hour for that email address to be no longer in the system kind of deal.
Right. No,
So,
it's pretty
great.
instantaneous and they've been re-added again.
Oh,
Any
perfect.
problems, always start out with clearing your cache within your browser, whichever you're using. is a good place to start if you're experiencing any issues with things not populating, is to clear the cache on your browser. So any questions on the dashboard and the dashboard actions before we move on to course application? Okay, Sarah, I'll turn the controls over to you.
I just want to keep that screen shared, Andy, and then I'll have you like walk through the application as I talk through it.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, so for course applications, to start, once you're logged in here, you'll go to that course applications tab. Make sure you thoroughly review all of this information. And then once you're ready and have all your documentation, hit the next button to start the application. Here, this will provide you with an option to update your phone number that you have on file. This is just going to pull from whatever we have associated with your contact page. So if this is an old phone number, just update it and then it'll save for all future applications. You do have the option to add an alternate phone number if there is one for you. Otherwise, you can just leave that field blank. Go ahead and then throw your course title in. If you later decide that you want to change the title of it, that is an option. So just title the course, and then from the type, you will select either course or conference, whichever you want it to be. And then you'll go ahead and hit next. And it'll load. Okay, so there's the 4 tabs. There's approval process tab. This is where you're going to take all actions while creating your course content. Will be done from this approval process tab. There's the application tab, which allows you just a view of like who created it, the data was created, all that information, the data was approved. The course summary tab will show all the content or like the categories you've added, the title. For now it's blank because we've added nothing. And then the categories or any notes and attachments, anything you upload will also show here. And then the categories and content will show the specific categories you add as well. And so then we'll go back to the approval tab here. So this is where you can change the title or any information you need to. So you'll hit that change application information option from the dropdown, select next. You can update your phone number again, title, switch it to a conference instead of a course, whatever you need to do, and then hit save. If you get here, decide, no, I'm actually good, you can hit the previous button as well to just cycle back. Okay. All right, so now once you are ready to add information, you're going to hit that Add, Modify, Categories and Credits tab and select Next. What would you like to do next? From the dropdown, you're going to add a learning category. And then here's where you'll select the category. So you will see the MLO categories listed in here. For now, we're just asking you do not select those to add content. You can select whichever general CE one you want. Andy, go ahead and pick one. And then the number of credits you want in this category. So this is where if you decide you want 2 categories, you can add multiples. You'll just have to do it individually. So you can do 4 hours of identity theft, is that what that said? And then go in and add another category and add an additional 2 hours of something. Drug enforcement. So kind of whatever you want to do. You aren't able to do like one credit split out over multiple categories. But if you want like 1 credit of this and 1 credit of that, this is how you can add that. And then once you are happy with the number of credits you have on your categories, you'll hit back to draft screen and hit save and next. So this is saved. And then if you were to go to that course summary tab, it'll show you it might take a little bit. This is where you can hit that refresh button and you'll see it all load on there. You'll get that overview of what categories you have added to your application. And so now say you've done all this and then you're looking at your course content and you realize you actually don't want the 2 hours of drug enforcement in there, so that you can go in and modify or remove any categories you want. So you go, we'll do modify first, Andy, actually. Or so say you wanted just 1 hour of drug enforcement instead of 2. You'll hit the modify, hit modify from the option here. Select which category you want to modify, and then change the number of credits. So change it from 2 to 1 or 2 to 4, whatever you want to do. There is that checkbox there that's only going to apply to mandatory learning objectives. So for now, you can ignore that. Then you hit save and next, and it'll update your application to now reflect just 5 categories or 5 credits instead of 6. And then we'll go back to the draft screen. And now you've reviewed it further and you're like, you know what? I actually don't want drugs in there at all. So we'll go ahead and remove that. So you'll hit the remove credits, categories and credits. Next. And then select which one you want to do. So this will remove it entirely. Can't be undone. You can go back in and later add it if you want, but this will just remove anything you've done with that category. And then once you're happy with the credits, you will go ahead and hit that review and submit. I don't know if it'll let you do it, Andy, since we're not in an accredited sponsor one here. Yeah, so for accredited sponsors, you guys won't be required to add the instructor qualifications or the learning assessment or any of that or course content. So you'll hit that review and submit, and it'll bring you, Andy, keep up the slide deck.
Yep. I don't know how to switch it, so let me just stop sharing, and then I'll share the other one.
Before we reinsert, any questions on that adding course content section or adding course categories? Hearing none. Okay, so review and submit. You'll select review and submit from the drop down there. It'll bring you to a summary view page of your course application. Just give you one last chance to review the credits and categories you've added and make sure you are happy with it. Signature field, type your name in there, and then if you have, and then you hit that submit button, and for accredited sponsors, that will immediately approve it, and you will get this approved and finalized screen with a course number. There is an option there to add comments to send to post staff. If you do that, it won't automatically approve it. It'll send it to us for review, where then we'll be able to approve it for you. But yeah, just hit the review and submit, and then you'll be good to go. It'll then give you the option to go to course, so you can go and view your course there. It'll populate in that course index. And yeah. Any questions? That concludes the course approval process. Yeah, Matthew?
I noticed on the presentation it says that it's been approved and is finalized. Once it's finalized, you cannot make any changes at that point, right?
Correct, yes.
So if you made a mistake, you'd have to essentially resubmit the correct information?
Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Any other questions? I don't see any hands. Well, we want to thank you for your
Are you
time.
guys able to hear me?
Yep, Brian, we can hear you. Go ahead.
Quick question. This is probably going to be way down the road, but once the course expires, will there be are we going to go in and just completely resubmit, or will it be like saved in there, where it can be like edited, or would we just go in and do it the same way we did 3 years ago?
You'll have to go in and just resubmit the same way you did 3 years ago.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Any other questions? No further questions? Well, thank you guys for attending. We know a lot of this information is things that you've already done and gone through. Again, if you have questions or concerns, you can certainly refer to this video on our website, but absolutely feel free to reach out to anybody from the continuing education team with questions or concerns, and we will be happy to help you. And thank you for attending today. We appreciate it. We know you're busy.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.